Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, so shall we start? Okay, so this session is a tutorial session like the two we had yesterday. So you can keep the same group, or if you want to move around, do so now before we start the session. So what I'm going to do in this session is lay out the principles or the content, what privacy policy should have. And then we are going to look into two companies you may be familiar with and look at their policy. One is Airtel. I know many of you have a cell phone from Airtel. They collect a lot of information from you. You may even wonder, when you talk to somebody, do they collect information as well? Okay. So anyway, Airtel privacy policy, I don't know how many of you have read, or any other company, Jio or whatever you're using. You may be wondering what their privacy policy is. So we'll do Airtel. And then you're going to do an exercise of analyzing the policy of State Bank of India. Okay. Why State Bank of India? State Bank of India is a good, typical example of a banking financial institution. So you will do, as a group, analyze their privacy policy and see whether it meets the criteria we talk about. And then you as a group going to put together privacy policy that's of interest to your small group, and and in the privacy policy in a way, it's a lot simpler to derive than general information security policy. See, information security policy, there's sort of no bounds, whereas privacy policy has only certain sections and there's not that many variation. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. First 10 minutes or so, we're going to talk about what should be a privacy, what should be the components of private policy, and then as a class we're going to go through one, and then you're going to do one by yourself, and then the privacy policy, and then write a privacy policy. Okay, so that will be the session. Okay, let's just go one at a time. Okay, so this morning you must have all gotten a paper to read about privacy policy. I mean, what constitutes privacy policy. So this discussion is from that paper. Okay. The TrustE or TrustArc, TrustE is actually merged with the TrustArc. It's a company which specializes in writing privacy policies for other companies, as well as evaluating it, whether the policy is compliant with the various governments, whether it's in Europe, US, and so on. Okay. So, I don't know whether they do business in India, but potentially whatever they have laid out should be applicable to privacy policies in India as well, because Indian Privacy Act is very similar to GDPR. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you all have the handout from this company, how to write a privacy policy. Okay. Yeah, privacy policy is basically a statement to consumers, users, how a company uses their personal information. In other words, you are telling your customers, your users, or your employer, this is what I'm planning to do with your data that I'm collecting, the personal data I'm collecting. We are going to basically deal with not the employee privacy policy, but external privacy policy, usually for users. Because that's what, for example, when State Bank of India writes policy, you are the consumer, you want to know what they do with your data. Same thing, Airtel. So we're going to be facing on public-facing policy is the focus, not the internal privacy policy. Okay. Generally, they should follow what is called fair information practicing principles, which originally originated in the 70s in the US. Okay. Okay. The one question is, why a privacy policy? First of all, it's increasingly is a legal requirement. In industry like finance, you have to have a privacy policy. And the second thing, it improves trust. In other words, when you give some information to your bank or your hospital or whatever, if they upfront tell you what information they're collecting and how they are planning to use, you trust them more. As opposed to some company doesn't tell you what they're doing, then you always, in the back of your mind, you wonder what the hell they're going to do with your private data. Okay. So it is improving trust. If you improve trust, people will come back to you, you will do more business. So it's your own best interest, an enterprise should write a privacy policy, even if it's not a requirement by the government, but increasingly it is a legal requirement. Okay. What are the, if you read that paper, if you had a chance to look at that document, you would find a typical privacy policy should have the following components. Okay. So first is what is called notice. In the notice, what you're really saying is what information the company is collecting and how it is going to be used. See, that way they are justifying whatever they're asking you is for a specific purpose. They are not asking you to give some information which is irrelevant to the kind of business they are offering. And also they have to tell you in advance what third parties they are sharing the information with. For example, bank, if they're going to give you a credit card or a mortgage, they may ask another company to check your credit history. Okay, so they have to tell you in advance, in order to give you a bank loan, in order to give you a mortgage, in order to give you personal loan, I have to check your credit history, which means I'm going to employ some kind of another company to do your credit check. So they have to identify every company that they're going to be sharing the information with. Because at the end of the day, honestly, they should not only be sharing the information with third parties, they also have to make sure third party does have the right privacy as well. Okay, or you have to go and check their privacy information, privacy protection information, or their privacy policy. Okay, so in general, they should have consumers should have a choice about how the information is collected, is used, and you should be able to opt in or opt out. In Europe, GDPR requires you have to explicitly opt in. You have to say, okay, I am allowing you to collect my name. I'm allowing you to collect my address. I'm allowing you to collect my tax ID or whatever. Whereas in many countries, including US and India, most likely it's opt-out. They're going to collect you, but they'll give you an option. I don't want that information to be collected. Okay, but one other thing is, if you decided not to give certain information, they may say we won't provide you service, but that's okay. But they have to tell you in advance, okay, these are the information I'm collecting, and for each of that information, they should give you an option to opt out, or upfront they would ask you, shall I collect this information from you? Okay, that's opt-in. Opt-in is more secure, more private preserving, but very few companies do that outside Europe. Okay. So you provide this information. You should be able to go to your personal file, your profile, or whatever. You should be able to see what information they have collected. Anything they have collected, it should be there. Because part of the reasons when people collect, especially, clerical mistakes take place, what the information is on the website is not originally what you gave. It happens all the time. Okay, so you should have you should have access to the information you provided, and you should they should also provide you a mechanism by which you can, if you find something not correct, for example, your address is Aadhaar number is wrong, because all it requires just one digit being wrong, or your address instead of avenue should say street. So you should have a way to correct it. Okay, finally, they should tell you how the information is protected to assure privacy. What are the steps they are taking to give you the data protection that you need? Okay, and the privacy policy should also have redress. In other words, if you dispute something and they don't agree with it, you should be able to take it to the next level. Okay, that's what is called dispute resolution mechanism. They should provide you who you should contact. Often it's the Consumer Protection Agency of the state, of the district, or whatever. So they should give you that information so you can contact them, okay, before they cut off the service. Okay, so these are the minimum one. Okay, now, what we are going to do now as a class, we are going to go and see the Airtel privacy policy. Okay, it's a real policy we all have to deal with. Each one of us has a cell phone service. I just picked up Airtel because I have Airtel. Okay, it could be Jio, it could be any other. Okay, and then after reading this, if you want to look into your privacy policy of your cell company, feel free. And you're going to minimally assess whether they have a notice, choice, access security, whether all these aspects in the privacy policy. And also increasingly, you should be able to also assess whether they are collecting the minimum information they need for the purpose they said they are collecting that information, and how are they taking accountability. Is there an accountability officer? Is there somebody that in the company you can immediately complain to and get this resolved before raising it? So let's just put up the Airtel policy, and I want you to do it together. Okay, if you have a computer, you can just go there, airtel.in, privacy policy. You can, I will try to make it bigger. Okay, sorry. Okay, so read it for a few minutes, and then we'll walk through this. Okay, have you all read it? Can we go through it or you want a few more minutes? Do you want a few more minutes? Are we ready? Okay, raise your hand if you need a few more minutes, otherwise we'll start. Okay. Okay. Ready? Okay, so let's do it in the next 10 minutes, so you will have 30 minutes to do the exercise. Okay, so if you look at the first section, since an ordinary person is not a privacy expert or haven't had a course like this, they don't know what personal information is. It first says, what is personal information? Just like we told early this morning, anything that will identify you, okay, or personally identify information. And then they say, these are the things that we are collecting, name, father's name, mother's name. I still don't understand they have to collect your father's name, mother's name. It's somewhat irrelevant, but they are collecting that information, okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and spouse's name. And the spouse's name, if they share the bill, I understand. But some of the information they're collecting, I think it's a little bit too much, okay? In my,
They don't need our occupation.
I'm sorry?
They don't need our occupation.
That's,
Email address, occupation.
yeah, they probably knew just to see whether you're have enough money. I totally agree. They should be asking more how much money you have in the bank, that's okay, or what's the income you're earning. You're right, they should be asking occupation. But then they're also saying, but not limited to. In other words, they may be getting some more information as well. But anyway, at least they're identifying good number of them. And some of it is, I don't know why it's needed. Okay, and current or previous address makes sense because you are not a fly-by-night person, so they want to know whether you have a history of being in one place.
They want to send the bill at our address. They will send the bill.
Yeah, and also people keep moving every month, they are not trustworthy also, okay. So that makes sense. And also they say see, not too many people use word sensitive private information, but in India they used it so that they said, we may be also collecting the financial information, which is sensitive information. Okay, I mean, that makes reasonable. Password authentication they need. Technically, they shouldn't be storing password. They should only be storing the hash of the password, so that that's all they need. They don't need the password itself, but that's what they're doing. And also they're saying we may be sharing that information with my fellow companies to verify your identity. That's usually, and sometimes credit history. And also they may be, transferring some responsibility like bills and products to third parties. So they're sharing all that information. Um, and they may be giving this information to marketing as well. I don't understand why they have to, because marketing should be done without the people's name and things like this, okay? It should be anonymized, okay? But at least they're accepting, they're giving this information. Okay, now they're saying, okay, these are the, how they're collecting of personal information. Okay, so they're going to collect their our services, website, and interact with you when you fill up a form or whatever, and how they are collecting personal information. And they also track all your log of the activities that you perform on the network. The one issue is, does it include all the phone calls you make through that, okay? It is just not clear, okay? And log is okay, only when you log into their company website. And they do record everything when you talk to them, which is sort of protect them as well as, hopefully it can give you better service. And they may also get information from other companies they deal with. Not only they will pass the information, they will also get it from the company they deal with. Okay. And they are sharing whom they will be sharing that information with. We may transfer your personal information to other information collected, stored, processed by us to any other entity or organization located in India or outside India, only in order to fulfill the terms of a contract we have with you. In other words, it is for legitimate purpose to provide you the service, but they're not telling you exactly whom they contact and why, what information they will give you. They will share that with the person. And they finally say, if you wish to opt out, you're only opt out your product or service related communication, but not everything else. And also they're saying they will share your information with the government agencies, which spells trouble, but in India, usually that's allowed. So they do say sometimes you will share your consent. You will ask for your consent in writing, online, the click-through agreement. Okay, they may also ask some third parties to collect information from you. And then security practice procedures, we take adequate steps to ensure that our, even third parties adopt a reasonable level of security. They themselves will follow ISO IE 27,000 security procedures, and to protect information. Also, there will be enough physical security in the data center they have where your data is stored. And they admit, in spite of all these things, there could be breaches, virus, all those things. So they're upfront telling you, we cannot guarantee 100% protection, but if it happens, we'll let you know, okay? And access and correction, they do give you to the extent possible. You can access the information that Airtel holds, and any correction, obviously they're allowing you to correct that information. Okay, and they're also telling you various ways to opt out in general, and they're giving you a contact number, and you can opt out to at least a marketing call. And if you have feedback and concern, you can write to them. So it seems to me they are following most of the privacy thing we outlined. Okay. Notice, choice, access, security, redress. Okay. So all in all, it's a very reasonable privacy policy. Um, but there are places where some concern, why are they collecting it? Uh, but at least they are sharing it with you what they are collecting. Any question on that? So it will pass my idea of decent privacy policy, but it could be better. Whether the data they collected is minimal, I don't understand why they need my mother's information. But those are the kind of questions. Okay. Um, okay. So I will leave it at that, and now let's go back to let's see.
Sir, I have a question. It may not be applicable for Apple, but when you say personal data, will it apply to corporate data? For example, I don't think you can procure a mobile number in the name of a company or an entity, not a human being. But you can buy vehicles in the name of.
You can do what?
Can you, will personal data privacy policy apply to details about your corporate? I may buy a mobile number, telephone number
Whether
for a
it
company.
will apply only to natural persons or also artificial persons like corporations, body of
Oh,
individuals.
okay. That's a good point. Privacy only applies to humans. The privacy does not apply to corporation. You might call it as a confidential information. The word privacy always with respect to human. Okay. Okay. So yes, both of us should have made it clear. Privacy always applies to a human. Okay. Not to your dogs. You may treat your dog like a human, but
On a serious note, in the US I was told you can do insurance for your pets also. So they do collect information from the pets.
right. But privacy laws don't apply. Okay, so that's the problem. Okay, you can treat like a human. You can do all those things. A pet owner cannot sue a company because they violated the privacy of a dog because privacy doesn't apply to dogs. Okay. Okay, so that's a good question. Privacy. One question is privacy applicable only to living person? See, that's a good question. Suppose I die. All the information that say State Bank of India collected on me, are they allowed to misuse it? I don't think so because that will become part of my estate, and that means they are trying to it goes on to my children, for example. So that's one good question. I mean, how long a dead person's information is still private? I don't know the answer for it, but generally it still probably holds. Okay. Okay, so let me put it in the. Yeah, I don't want to put the start. I want to go from where we left. Okay, so your exercise has two parts again. The first part is look at State Bank of India. Okay, this is a too long of URL. How could we pass this to everybody? We need to send that the link to everybody. Okay, and the other exercise is you're going to write a privacy policy for your own enterprise. If you have time, take a look at the Facebook. Facebook privacy policy is very complicated. It's very hard to understand. Okay, what all they do. LinkedIn, since you are putting your resume there, you may wonder, you may have to. In some ways, LinkedIn you are sharing so that you get a job. But on the other hand, are they misusing it? You may want to know. Okay, so look at LinkedIn again. It's not a part of the exercise, but something you should for a personal life. If you are using Facebook, take a look at the Facebook. Facebook is very complicated. But for exercise today, you're going to look into State Bank of India privacy policy and tell me how good it is, just like we did for Airtel, okay? And then write a privacy policy. I will, for the time being, I'll put this up. I don't know how I can pass on this link to you so that. I'm sorry? It's there, okay. So go to State Bank of India and search privacy, and then this will be there. So you don't need this link, but it is there. I can make it bigger. All of you, I advise you read your bank privacy information, because that is very important, and your healthcare privacy information. The two things you should never not read, okay? And already you have this exercise, and and other social network platform you may want to read as well. But anyway, this is the exercise for you. Okay, we have about 6 or 7 minutes. Any question on the assignment? You may not be able to finish it. Maybe you can take some time later in the evening. You can submit or whatever. Any questions you have that make it hard to understand the assignment? That will clarify the assignment.
Assignment is to draft the price policy for your own enterprise, imaginary enterprise.
Yeah, imaginary. If you have a company, yeah, you can make up your own. It could be in the finance industry, it could be service delivery industry, teaching industry, or whatever. You just choose what you want. The teaching industry, you got to pay special attention to students, student records. In US, the grades are very private information. In fact, for adult student or college students, you shouldn't even send it to their parents.
I wish that came to India long back.
Huh?
I wish that was done in India. Long back.
Yeah, I know.
Parents were not known that.
Okay, so yeah, remember that. Okay. You want me to push just some more? Okay.
Are we going to discuss this or no?
I'm sorry?
Are we going to discuss this? No.
You should also write this in privacy policy. This is, you can simply say few sentences. It is good, but it lacks a few things. They're asking too much information. Just like the SSD Airtel. Okay, so this sort of a second. So the reason why I'm giving you this is most of you will not be writing a privacy policy unless you're a CISO kind of person. You might. I mean, that is important to write your own policy, but more importantly, most of you should be reading several privacy policy every year, okay? So that is why this is more important, and you have to understand what is being done, okay? Yeah, okay.
Does the government have privacy policy?
Oh, government should have also, they have in fact, government should even have a stricter privacy policy. Because government collects more information, tax information. Yeah, even other information they collected. So government, in fact, privacy is often with respect to protecting the information from the government. You know, not simply to selling it to the general public. Often, the bank strict confidentiality rule, like a Swiss bank, they cannot share it with the government. So it is even more important for government itself to keep the information. In the US, one side of the government cannot share the information with another one. So I don't know about India. Generally, you are not allowed to share information among various parts of the government. Okay, it is that strict. But I don't know again about India, how strict they are sharing information across. Generally, you're not allowed to. So government requires even stricter privacy policy than private companies, okay? So the real thing is many governments violate that, okay, especially against their political enemies, okay?
Private companies violate a private policy, we can go to court.
You should be able to go to court. You should treat the private government just like any other entity.
So if the government has any mistakes, well,
We will again go to the court.
Yeah, I would assume you can sue the government, yes, for damage they have done to you. Again, it's all hypothetical. I don't know whether it can be done in this government. I don't know all the thing. But in the US, constantly we go after the government for not, okay. So we treat government just like anybody else. Okay.
in many cases, even if we have to go to court, we have to be dependent on the government.
Not necessarily, there are two different parts of the government. So remember, you should always think judiciary is different from the administrative part of the government. Okay, in fact, often many cases are state against state, states against the central government, or in our case, what's called federal government. So, but you go to judiciary to resolve those issues. So often you go you go after a part of the government. Sure, the courts are part of the government, but they are not the administrative part of the government. They are judiciary, they are separate from the administrative part. Yes, you should be able to sue the government. Again, it's all ideal. I don't know whether the present government you can do that, I don't know, or what the ramification is, but the law should allow you to sue the government, okay? The case of government is very important. It's the political enemies they will go after. Okay, so that is the reason why it is so strict. You have to have protection in the government. In other words, if somebody, the present government doesn't like you, they can go after releasing your, tax information to everybody. Okay, they can say this guy makes 200 lakhs a year. He's not paying any taxes. Okay, that way they can get you, and they're not allowed to.